Okay, how about Fervent Mastery?
That's 3 and a red, 5 total for a sorcery at rare. Oh boy, did you know that you may pay 2 red rather than pay the spell's mana cost?
I would love to, CGB. I would
But
love to.
wait, hold on. You should know, you should read the fine print first. Wouldn't want you to get into trouble. But if you choose to do that, to pay less, because you can make that choice. But if you do, an opponent discards any number of cards, then draws that many cards. So now do you want to know what you get to do? You
Okay.
get to search your library for up to 3 cards. Put them into your hand, shuffle, and then you discard 3 cards at random.
Oh man, you had me there until the random part.
You knew it had to be bad.
Oh man. I was like, combo enabler, let's go. And yeah, nah.
Is there something? I mean, is there a way 4 mana you draw 3, discard 3? Is there some way to pay this? I don't know.
The only way this card is good is if you're able to get value from like pretty much anything in the graveyard, right? It's either like the cards you want to hit with this, either that like the cards you search up with this have to be playable from the graveyard, or your deck has to be set up in a way to make those cards work from the graveyard.
How good would that have to be? Like, those cards just don't exist, and they won't in standard. Like the dredge. Like, we're talking about a historic version of dredge is what's needed, and those cards are not here.
And this card is expensive. Even at 2 red, it's expensive. So this reads like the ultimate meme to me.
Junk rares are back, man.
Yeah, baby. Oh man, there's gonna be some feels bad open packs in this set.
Oh, I can't wait.
Sure,
oh,
dude.
my stream is going to be troller's heaven.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I think constructed players, people who play strictly constructed and not limited, like their wild cards are just gonna take a huge hit. Well, maybe not actually. How many rares and mythics are you gonna want to craft from this set?
We're gonna find out. We're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll do the retrospective at the end.
Okay. I think this card at least bears a consideration. So, Eureka Moment, 2 green, blue, instant. Draw 2 cards. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. I think we can safely say that this card is worse than Growth Spiral. But could we ever imagine playing this card?
I think so.
Like, how does this stack up versus like, Behold the Multiverse, right? Or other of these 4 mana instant draw 2 spells?
Well, tying ramp onto it makes it better than all of those. There's no selection, but I think you'd rather ramp than have selection.
Especially if you're playing Simic, right?
I mean, I think any color would rather have the ramp. If this were a blue-white card, I would be losing my mind.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah. So
yeah.
This card is probably very good.
Mm-hmm.
6 is a weird spot. You can't cast an ultimatum for 6, and you can cast Elder Gargaroth for 5. So what are we doing? We're going to play Kogla? Maybe, but being cynical about that usually doesn't make much sense because you'll find something. Like, you find something to do with mana when it's free and easy to access. I would say that the 5th land, like getting your 5th land ramped out, is a lot worse than getting your 3rd land ramped out, though. Like, this card is not for every Simic deck. It's a very situational card that can take that turn off and recover from it.
I agree. Yeah. Nice to note that the land comes in untapped. So that's always a good thing. Plays well with cards like Mystical Dispute and stuff like that.
Again, though, way better to have the 3rd land untapped than the 5th. Like playing a 1-drop or like a 2-drop maybe with this card later in the game is a lot worse than playing it early.
Yeah, hard agree. It is. I think that in a vacuum, this card is a better top deck in the late game than a Growth Spiral.
Yes,
just gives you more cards.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, you don't play Growth Spiral because of the late game. So, Yeah, this is a card to keep an eye on. I think that this card could easily show up.
Yeah, and this will be a card where it's like, I want to find a card that plays well with this from this set, because we're trying to make the Simic thing a deck. I don't feel like it has many tools yet. And then I see this and I'm like, okay, if we can hold off the early game, we can ramp into a really big late game. Let's see if there's something that's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, just drawing 2 cards gives you a better chance to find a land as well. Those growth spirals where you didn't have another land and you didn't hit another land felt pretty bad. Okay, why don't you read Accomplished Alchemist?
This critter is an elf druid that's 3 and a green, so 4 total for a 2/5. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. Or tap, add X mana of any one color, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Notably, this is not this is a tap colon, I guess? No, I guess that's the same thing. I was gonna say, can you use this the turn you play it? No, you can't. It's still summoning sick.
Right.
So you get mana of a color if you gain some lifey life. Are you excited about this?
A weird card, very weird card. This is definitely the kind of card which you can concoct into interesting scenarios, but the deck probably doesn't exist, and paying 4 mana for it is a lot of mana to pay for it.
It sure is.
So yeah. Combination of slow card plus weird deck equals probably not playable. But anytime you do have like a, I don't know, add no ceiling on the amount of mana this card can give you card, like it's a good one to just remember that it exists, I think. Having said that, I'm definitely not gonna prioritize this in my memory. Okay, neither will I this next one. Augmented Pugilist. 1 green. Creature troll druid at rare. It is a 3/3 with trample, which is always weird. As long as you control 8 or more lands, however, Augmented Pugilist gets +5/+5. We really did it. This is what we're playing our silly 6 mana draw a million lands spell to enable.
3 mana, 8/8 trample, baby.
On the backside, there's a card which must surely be related to this card. 3 blue sorcery. Choose target creature you control. Each other creature you control becomes a copy of it until end of turn, except those creatures aren't legendary if the chosen creature is legendary. What the hell is this card?
I mean, dude, you can turn your whole board into something that you're not supposed to be able to.
Into 8/8 tramplers? Is that the trick?
Yeah, if you draw 2 of this card and you also somehow get 8 lands onto the battlefield and are still playing Magic and can play this, yeah, you can get away with that. But you could also turn your whole board into like Heliod's.
There you go. You know? Are really doing
attack
it.
With all Heliod's.
Man.
That all trigger each other if you gain life. I can give each other lifelink.
I think you said something to this effect on your stream that was like, why would I ever play this card when Kazandu Mammoth is in the format?
I have no idea. I think that the people who would play this card would play it for the backside to meme, because I think this is another meme and just a line of memes that we continue reading. We are just hanging out reading memes. These cards are ridiculous. Yeah.
And you know what? ACP Art Review returns to give a thumbs down on this Augmented Pugilist as well. This is just a weird art, man.
Okay. I mean, the Hulk is hulking, I guess. I don't know what's going on here.
He's got a horn coming out of his mouth. Whatever.
It's a troll druid. I feel trolled. Do you feel trolled?
I feel heavily trolled.
All right. You're the host. I'm snatching host role for a second.
Do it.
Taking it from you. We're going to read Emergent Sequence.
Emergent Sequence?
Yep.
Oh. Okay, yeah. I glossed over this one. Go for it.
1 in a green sorcery at uncommon. Search your library for a basic land card. Put it onto the battlefield tapped. That's rampant growth. Then shuffle. Oh, wait, there's more. That land becomes a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature that's still a land. Put a +1/+1 counter on it for each land you had enter the battlefield under your control this turn. I mean, it's interesting, right?
Interesting card.
Yeah, so you play a land on turn 2, you cast this, you go fetch a basic land, you put it onto the battlefield, it's tapped, it becomes a creature, it becomes a 2/2 because 2 lands entered the battlefield.
Sure. So, I mean, this card is basically what? This is like a Marrowleaf Pixie without flying, right? It's kind of what this card is.
Kind of. It does. So it does take a land and make it vulnerable to it. It takes a land and turns it into a mana dork, but it searches for any basic land. So it can be fixing in 3, 4, and 5 colored decks that hits a land type. If your opponent kills a land, now you have a basic land in the graveyard. If there's some reason for that, it's just kind of a weird card. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it is. So if you want like what is on average going to be a 2/2 mana dork, like how does this compare with the Florahedron, Tangled Florahedron?
Well, it's a little bit bigger. And it can make different colors.
So maybe better than that card. I suppose the Florahedron, when you play it tapped as a land, can't get removed, right? So,
it also, you can gem raise onto it.
You know, maybe like, I don't know, Magecraft, or I don't know. You're right. There's something interesting about this card.
It does simply make your land get stomped.
Yeah.
So that's the downside. But I thought it was interesting and worth a look that we have the weirdest rampant growth I've ever seen in the format.
You're right. You're definitely right about that. Yeah. Not bad. Okay. Body of research. Green, green, green. Blue, blue, blue. Sorcery at Mythic. Create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of cards in your library. Okay, I mean, that's thick. That creature is gonna be thick.
Do you know what the maximum for cards in your library is on MTG Arena?
250?
It is?
Oh, man. We know
goals.
What CGD is doing.
We've got goals. It's a bit of overkill, but that's okay.
I mean, this card, in most circumstances, is going to say, make a creature that's big enough to one-shot your opponent.
Yep, for 6 mana. As a 6 mana sorcery speed creature should.
So this kind of begs the question of how big is big enough?
Okay, so maybe it's not a good enough reason to play a 250 card deck. You make a good point. You got me there.
You know, memes need to be made.
No, I mean, you just playing this in a 60 card deck. If you get to do this and make a 40/40, then you're gonna make a lethal threat.
Yeah,
it's vulnerable to frickin' everything, but you combine it with the Ozolith, and that's pretty funny.
Okay, we really did it,
dude. Now everything's a 40/40.
There you go.
Is this card any good? It is 6 mana. It is the mythic. It is a spell, which works with a lot of things. And we talked about that draw 2 growth spiral a minute ago. Does this thing have a home? Just making a sorcery speed one-shot killer.
I mean, I'm not totally discounting it. Like, I think this is the kind of card you pay attention to.
Doesn't die to Heartless Act.
It does die to Heartless Act.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, no, you're right. It doesn't.
It really doesn't.
It dies to eliminate.
Really doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it dies to eliminate. Well, let's go into that. So what does it die to? It dies to eliminate. It dies to petty theft. Is there any other cheap interaction it dies to?
Drown in the Lock.
Drown in the Lock. Claim the Firstborn, which
sucks. Oh, did you have to go there? Oh, man.
So that's pretty gnarly.
That's a heartbreaker.
I mean, good thing that card isn't played very much in Standard at the moment.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's going to happen to someone. That's a clip of the week.
Yeah, that's gonna be gas. I think like okay, making just a big beater is probably not enough because like Vorinclex is almost this, right? Maybe Vorinclex takes one more hit to kill your opponent. Oh, that's a combo though. That's a
Double,
combo.
because that's important. That's
We really
important.
did it.
Okay.
But that's what I'm wondering is there are plenty of cards which are like basically like Coma Cosmos Serpent is kind of just basically this card in a way, you know? Like it's I don't know. So I'm definitely not just jamming this into every deck and thinking it's good. I think if you can get the sorcery back, like if you have a deck that's good at like getting stuff back from the graveyard, this could be good. It's also good if you can like cheat it out somehow.
I'm not.
In a vacuum, I'm not playing it.
Yeah, probably not. Also, the mana cost is super restrictive.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. But definitely an epic card.
Yeah, I like that they went big.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Oh, okay. This was the one in the cycle that caught my eye. Quandricks Cultivator. 1 green, Simic Hybrid, blue. This is a creature turtle druid at uncommon. It is a 3/4. When Quandricks Cultivator enters the battlefield, you may search a library for a basic forest or island card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle.
You just have a thing for turtles?
I do happen to like turtles.
That's it. We figured it out. You think this is... Would you rather have the dies clause on Solemn or the +1/+2 on this card?
I was just going to compare the two, actually. In a vacuum, I actually like this better.
Okay.
Yeah, I think okay. I think for the reason that we've been kind of banging on about lately, which is that the onboard presence these days matters more than the cards in hand, right?
I think you're right, yeah.
And so Solemn Simulacrum just hasn't been as good of a card now as it used to be in the past. It doesn't attack well, it doesn't block well. Your opponents just assume that at some point you get to draw a card off of it, right?
All right. So which Lovestruck Beast are you blocking better with this?
I mean, probably double blocking, right? Probably double blocking.
Sure. Okay.
But the 3/4 body is like a real creature.
Yes, it does survive frostbite.
It does survive frostbite. I mean, your opponent probably isn't feeling that great if they have to point a removal spell at this thing. And the forest or the island does come into play untapped as well. So I mean, I'm not saying that you just jam this card, right? But I do think that in a Simic deck, pound for pound, it's better than Solemn Simulacrum.
But in that Simic deck, would you be better off with some black sources that are mostly free because of pathways and a triome and playing Binding the Old Gods?
Excellent question. Yep, that is an excellent question. That card is probably better than this card.
I mean, I love a good Yorion target. I really do. But Binding is so much better. If this made it into that deck, it would only be like a 1 or a 2 of. And maybe that's just fine. It is an uncommon in a cycle, in a set that seems to be struggling to find its place. So maybe that's totally reasonable for this card.
One thing I like is that you get the land right away, whereas with Binding, you don't, right? Now, most of the time, Binding sticks around, but that is a vulnerability of that card.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I put this in the maybe playable camp, and this card has my attention. I'm interested. Okay, I'm gonna let you continue this proud tradition of reading the Elder Dragons.
Great. Awesome. Galazeth Prismari is 2 and a blue and a red for an elder creature, Elder Dragon, a legendary creature, Elder Dragon, mythic 3/4 flying. When this card enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. Artifacts you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast an instant or sorcery spell. We did it again, man. We have another one of these cards that is freaking, it's a 3/4 dragon, but it makes a treasure, so you want artifacts because it gives artifacts an ability, but you can only use the ability to cast instant or sorcery spells. So your deck is not allowed to have synergy, and we'll give it some synergy.
Man, I feel like if it didn't have that only instant or sorcery clause on it, like, I'd be a lot more excited about it.
I still think this card is all right after all that. Like this, just the design of the set for some reason, just like it punches me in the negative feels, because I feel like they're rewarding things that don't make sense. But at least with this card, you have an ETB. It's kind of it's a ramp in multiple ways. Like you can just sacrifice. You don't have to tap the treasure for the mana to cast instants or sorceries. You can. You don't have to. But you can also just sacrifice it to cast something else. But man, would you pay 4 mana for a 3/4 flying, make a treasure? Like that sounds like a limited card. A really broken limited card, but it does sound like an uncommon, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the fact that it's legendary as well is kind of a bummer. So if you did somehow manage to decide that you wanted to play this in your deck, you can't even just go one into another one. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm like mostly off it, but I feel like this one has more. It has the most potential out of the Elder Dragons that we've seen so far, I think.
In larger formats or in Commander, like what are we doing with this? Because I'm picturing where it's busted to give your artifacts this ability, and how do we make a whole bunch of artifacts to even tap for mana? I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I'm like an old person, man. I don't get these new cards.
Well,
don't get the appeal, man.
It's true. I mean, it has to be a deck that runs artifacts, instants and sorceries, and this dude, right? It has to be a deck in which all of those things make sense. And it is kind of weird. I agree with you. It's definitely not jumping to mind. I mean, it seems like a card that rewards you for maybe already having made a treasure earlier in the game. But that just sounds like a game in which we've done nothing, right? Like we've done, turn 2, we discarded a card, made a treasure. Turn 3, maybe we play Galazeth Prismari, right?
I'm picturing like we play Birth of Meletis, we make an 0/4 wall. Then 2 turns later, we play Prismari, make a treasure, we tap our wall and our treasure to cast a Lofty Denial and protect the Prismari. And in that situation, we're doing it, but at the end of it, we're chilling with a 3/4. Like, yeah,
it's just still kind of weird.
0/4.
Yeah. Meanwhile, your opponent is just busy, hopefully casting better cards. So yeah, hard to place it, hard to imagine it. Okay, this one's certainly a compelling card. Decisive Denial costs a blue and a green. It is an instant at uncommon. Choose one. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control, or counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 3 generic. Does this one interest you?
This one could be a banger. Like cool, yeah, you woke me up. What do we got here? So in a situation where the opponent has where the opponent has creatures, it's a removal spell as long as you have a bigger creature than the opponent. Guess what? It's green. You can play Lovestruck Beast. You'll get the job done. You can play Kazandu Mammoth. This sucker's gonna brawl.
You can play a ramp turtle.
Yeah,
great.
No. Hey, you might have a 40/40, all right, in this color combination from that library card. But then on the other hand, it's mana leak for non-creature spells, like it or negate, if you will. And yeah, I think the versatility on this card and the fact that it's good in both matchups, one of the biggest problems with playing these kind of decks is that every deck needs, if it doesn't close the game fast enough, it has to counter Emergent Ultimatum. So you have to run counter spells on decks that don't want them, but then you're not running removal, so you're getting run over by white aggro, or you're getting run over by red. And this is a card that's good in both spots, and I like it. Like, this is my kind of card. This is a playable. All it asks is that you have some creatures.
So exactly. So in order to put this card in your 75, you do need to make a plausible argument for how you're going to satisfy that fight clause, because it's probably just not good enough otherwise. But yeah, I could easily see this showing up.
Yeah, I mean, just play some Lovestruck Beast, Elder Gargaroth, play creatures. Like, I think in Simic you have to. Like, without Nexus of Fate, is there any Simic deck that's even conceivable that doesn't play some fatty boom booms?
Yeah, but probably not. Yeah, good point. Good point, CGB. You make those every once in a while.
I'm just pumped. We got a good card to talk about there,
I know.
It's a nice little glue card.
It costs 2 mana. Surprise, surprise.
Instant. Yeah, how many sorceries have we looked at today? Well, they give us this 2 mana, like, always useful instant, and they give us these rare, like, sorceries that are so unwieldy. Anyway, we can roll, but I'm just like,
well, we're gonna roll right into another card, which I'm not probably going to be that excited about. CGB, why don't you read for us? You walked right into that one, man. Crackle with power.
I read it for... Okay, I didn't realize it's Crackle with power. This whole time I thought it was Cackle with power, and I was preparing a good... but it's a disaster. I did.
Okay.
Anyway, Crackle with power is red XXX. Sorcery.
That's an X-rated card if ever I've seen one.
Triple X. It's a Vin Diesel card. Crackle with power deals 5 times X damage to each of up to X targets. Okay. So
did you misread this card the first time, like me and Paulo Vitor?
What? Maybe. I don't know.
I missed the X targets part of it, and I thought it was the most busted card ever.
Okay, I'm trying to look at it then. Okay, so if you put 1 into this, and you're paying a total of 5 mana, and then you're dealing 5 times 1, so you're dealing 5 damage to each of up to 5 targets, right?
No, of each of up to 1 target.
Oh!
That's the problem with the card.
Okay, so at sorcery speed for 5 mana, you do 5 damage to 1 target. It's a lava axe.
It's a freaking lava axe. Okay, so if we bump it up to 2, then we get to deal 10 damage to each of up to 2 targets for 7 mana.
7 mana, 10 damage to 2 targets. That's like a bad volcanic salvo.
Like a bad volcanic salvo. And then if we're paying, what is this? 11 mana?
I'm done. I'm you can do the math. I'll be over here with my soda.
You know what's brutal on this card, CGB? Is if your opponent's at 20 life and you pay 11 mana on this, it doesn't even kill them. All right. So talk about, I don't know. This card's more of a cackle than a crackle, I would say.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yep.
Right. Wow, dude, can I just say, like, bulk mythics are back, man?
Oh, man.
For a while there, every card had, like, a use or a place, and bulk mythics are back.
Yeah,
Holy cow.
at least us constructed players don't have to spend all of our wild cards, Just save them up for the next. Spend them on historic, because that's where they're going to go.
Oh, they will.
Okay, I've got to read this card, CGB. I've just got to. Secret Rendezvous. 1 white sorcery. They finally figured out how to get white good cards. Okay. 1 white sorcery. You and target opponent each draw 3 cards.
It's really kind of beautifully romantic when you read it, It's like Secret Rendezvous. It's very
so intriguing.
Very
and just
middle
just
school.
Like so many rendezvous, it's costly. It ends up being costly. So the trick is you play NASA and then you resolve this. Okay, good job. You did it. You really did it. But otherwise, just don't play this card.
I don't know. It's a commander card, right? And it's cute. That's its point. It's cute.
Yeah, it's a cute card. All right, it's great. why don't you hit Devastating Mastery then?
That's what happens. You do your secret rendezvous, and what happens? You get devastating mastery. I don't know. 2 and a white. So that's a total of 6, 4 of which are white. Sorcery, rare. Did you know that you may pay 2 white rather than pay the spell's mana cost?
But I'm not going to want to.
Probably not. If 2 white was paid, an opponent chooses up to 2 non-land permanents they control and return them to their owner's hand. And the text is destroy all non-land permanents. So you can pay this for 4. Your opponent will bounce 2 things.
Mm-hmm.
That's not as bad as I think all the other stuff. To be honest, that is a 4 mana destroy all permanents, but they have to recast 2 of them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so we did play Planar Cleansing, which was the same mana value, although this is 4 white, which is pretty steep. I mean, even in a 2-color deck, that's pretty steep. So, but Planar Cleansing was definitely a card that saw play. So yeah, I mean, it's not a terrible card just on the face of it. But let's walk through some of those scenarios. Like, are you ever happy to play this for the 4 mana cost? Like, it's a tempo play at that point, right?
Yeah, it is a tempo play, but we've also talked about Shatter the Sky, right? It's a tempo play. Like, Wraths have been used as tempo plays.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're not happy to play this against a creature deck that's beating you down, though, right?
If they have, you are if they don't have haste cards. If they have haste cards, it doesn't feel good at all.
Really?
I mean, you got to set them back. Surely you have a bigger game, right? Like, you're staying alive for a reason. Mm-hmm. You must be able to outscale them. You just need the time.
Yeah, just aren't the other rafts better though?
Are they? I mean, Doomscar is probably better, but non-land permanents, I guess it depends. This hits planeswalkers, artifacts, and enchantments. Are people playing those?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Here's something interesting about this card. It's not optional. It says an opponent chooses up to 2 non-land permanents they control. So if they control an Annex and an Indestructible God, and you cast this, they have to bounce them. Mm-hmm. And that's better than a Wrath when one of their creatures might be indestructible.
It's an interesting idea.
Yeah, but like Seasoned Hollowblade, the dog, those are real pains.
Here's the thing, though, is that in order for you to get your money out of this card, your opponent has to have a sufficient number of permanents to make it worth your while. And when they have a sufficient number of permanents, they'll be able to choose the cards that work well for them.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I have many times Wrath 1 or 2 cards because people pace well, or because maybe I went first for once in my life.
So then this card just basically becomes Engulf the Shore?
But it's any permanent. And it's in white, which is kind of weird. It's bounce any 2 permanents. Like I said, normally where Doomscar has been failing has been because they sacked their Selfless Savior. They discarded their Seasoned Hollowblade. Your big Wrath destroyed one thing, and it was a dog, I
mean, you're right. This is a board clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
It does clear the board.
Yep.
No questions asked. So that's pretty good. I mean, in a format it still suffers from the Faceless Haven problem. So yeah, I'm struggling with this one, man. And it more than anything, it's just because Planar Cleansing doesn't seem particularly good right now.
Yeah, if it said Exile, it would be bonkers.
Yeah, Exile would be sick. But I'm coming down fairly low on this card. But it is a powerful card and good thing to have in the format for sure.
Yeah, after saying all that, I can come up with ways this is good. Is it going to be what you actually want to do? I don't know. And all of these cards with the you can pay less, but it'll suck if you do are really not I'm not feeling them.
Yeah, I'm struggling with the cycle as well, for sure. All right, Silver Quill Silencer, black and a white For a creature human cleric at rare, it is a 3/2. A Silver Quill Silencer enters the battlefield. Choose a non-land card name. Whenever an opponent casts a spell with the chosen name, they lose 3 life and you draw a card. Naughty, naughty. Yeah, this is not Meddling Mage.
It's not Meddling Mage. I'm trying to see, like, we have to really add up the black-white cards and see how aggressive you can get, because that paying 3 life only matters if the opponent is under significant pressure, and it is really hard to put them under pressure in black-white if you've tried that color combination. Like, you've got to have the pieces. Also, it is an enter the battlefield trigger. The opponent can Heartless Act this with the trigger on the stack.
Oh, that's true.
And the card does have to be on the battlefield when that, to get the lose 3 life and draw a card action. So that's a bit nasty. However, if you are on the play and you just play this on 2 and name Stomp, the opponent's not in as good a spot as they might have hoped that they'd be. Then again, if they don't have the Stomp and they just play the Lovestruck Beast and you sit there with your 3/2 being like, what do I do? And then they cast Bone Crusher Giant.
Yeah, they can still cast Bone Crusher.
Yeah, then, right? Yeah, it's awkward, right? Yeah, if you name Bone Crusher Giant, you will not get paid when they cast Stomp. Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the issues with this card is just that it's like you're incentivized to try to hit higher impact spells when you name this, or spells that mess up an opponent's curve.
Those stuff they have to cast. Yeah, stuff they feel priced into casting. Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. And so it's just like when the opponent still gets to do that stuff, it's just not as good. Now, I agree with you. The life has to matter. And this is a 3/2 for 2. So if we're playing some kind of random aggressive Ozov deck, I could see this being a player. I'm definitely not dunking on the card. I mean, it's priced to move. It has text. So that's it for me. Like, you have to have like a deck that cares about curving out and dealing damage to the opponent. And then when you do, then you definitely consider a card like this. But having said that, it's a little bit hard. Maybe we'll read a lot more, Ozov or Silver Quill, I suppose, cards in the set that will kind of make a better narrative for that deck.
Elite Spellbinder and this, like, to me, there is a narrative there. I don't need a ton of things around it, but it would be nice. I'm definitely also looking like, are we going to want to play like Fight as One? Does protecting this card make it even better? You know what I mean? So we'll see.
Yeah, so not a terrible card, a card which, it could fill in a gap in the right shell. But this isn't like, this is not Meddling Mage, so just get that out of your mind. Okay, how about Dream Strix?
2 and a blue for a Bird Illusion. It is a 3/2 flyer that is rare. And when Dream Strix becomes the target of a spell, sacrifice it. When Dream Strix dies, you learn. Do you have to kill your bird to learn? This is kind of dark, man. It's kind of messed up. I don't like it.
Well, it was all a dream, so.
Oh, okay. It was all an illusion.
Poor Hedwig, man. This is a weird card. A 3/2 flyer for 3 it's not hot, probably.
I don't think so. I don't think I would just play that card. And here's the thing. Can they ignore a 3/2 flyer for 3? Can they just ignore it? Because if they can ignore it, then it never has to die. You never learn anything. And when you learn, it's not like you broke the game. You got a little bit of value. You got probably a substandard spell, as we've discussed. Yeah. So like this card, the problem is, right, it doesn't attack that well because it's a 3-mana spell, right? It's a 3-mana 3/2 flyer. It's just not that big of an impact, and it doesn't really block that well. And so so even if you do get to learn from it, again, it kind of suffers from the same issue as that red burn spell that we were talking about earlier, where like the tempo is just a bit too slow, I think. I will say this, like if it were a mana less, it would be awesome. And here's the other thing about it. If you target this with a Brazen Borrower or with a Bone Crusher Giant, it sacrifices itself. They don't get the Giant or the Borrower. So like if this were a mana less, it would be pretty hot. but
If this were a 2/1 flyer for 1 and a blue, it would be a cool card, right?
it would be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I agree with you. I think it's just a little bit too slow, a little bit too pricey. I don't imagine it's going to show up in constructed.
Yep.
Okay, mercurial transformation. 1 and a blue, sorcery, lesson at uncommon. Until end of turn, target non-land permanent loses all abilities and becomes your choice of a blue frog creature with base power and toughness 1/1, or a blue octopus creature with base power and toughness 4/4. What an odd card. And it's a sorcery, which is kind of a bummer. Couldn't this
Yeah,
at least be
what?
an instant?
What the hell is this? Okay, so here's I guess the thing. If you attack, first of all, if you haven't picked this yet and the opponent doesn't see it coming, you can attack and then maybe they block your 1/1 with their 4/4, and then you turn their 4/4 into a base power 1/1, and the 1 damage that was already on it kills it. I just don't see any of that actually happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what it is. You attack with your dream Strix and they block with their 4/4 flyer, and then you learn this and you use that extra card to kill it. It sounds terrible. I'm
really
done.
did it. Yeah,
I'm off it.
This card is kind of crap. I actually don't even know if I'd play this in limited, so it's kind of a shame. All right, this one's an interesting one. Test of Talents. Read it for us.
Test of Talents is 1 and a blue instant. Counter target instant or sorcery spell. Search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that spell and exile them. That player shuffles, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way. Ooh, they put Unmoored Ego on a counterspell.
On a counterspell, yeah, man. I thought this would get your brain churning away there.
What are the big hitters? What are the big hitters? You say one, then throw it to me, and I'll say one, and we'll go back and forth as long as we can. All right,
so people want this to hit Emergent Ultimatum.
That's a hitter. That's a hitter. I want to hit Zenith Flare.
There you go. There you go. I honestly just want to hit one of my opponent's like 4 counter spells. That seems pretty.
Just hit their Saw It Coming.
Yeah, just or even bad. For those rogues.
I was going. Mine was going to be Into the Story.
Yeah, Into the Story is going to feel real bad. I mean, even Drown on the Lock's going to feel pretty bad.
Yeah,
like that's the best card in that deck, you know?
Yeah, those cards are absolutely lit, and you can get them gone forever. Should you just run this instead of Negate? What is it that Negate counters that this doesn't? It's enchantments, Great Henge, Embercleave, it's Maul of Skyclaves, Planeswalkers. So it's not obvious. Yeah, it is a lot of things. It's not obvious you should make that cut.
I think people underestimate how many non-instant and sorcery cards Negate actually does counter. So
also,
it's a pretty big cost.
If you counter Stomp, you don't get their Bone Crusher Giants.
No, you don't. Exactly.
No. It's important to know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a sideboard card. And I don't even know, like, do you care that much about... Like, okay, like here's an example. Let's say you bring this in against Emergent Ultimatum decks, right? And then on turn 4, they just go for a Seeker's Chariot. You can't counter it with this thing, you know? And then you just die to a Seeker's Chariot.
I think that's why the Ultimatum deck, I don't think, is necessarily a great place for it, because they still have the cards they would fetch from the Ultimatum in their deck to kill you with. Yeah. That's why what my first name was Zenith Flare, because that like just completely dissects a dimension of their game plan. Like they don't have a replacement for Zenith Flare.
That's true. And that deck's also not resolving like a ton of other non-creature spells. I mean, I guess if they're getting down what is it? Unlike on Improbable Alliance.
Yeah, that one comes down on 2 anyway. Like that's a really hard one to get with a counter.
It is. Yeah. You know, also a deck that could just kill you via another means. But so yeah, it's a weird card. It is powerful. Definitely, I think it definitely has uses. I could see this as being like a 2-of in the sideboard.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, cool. All right, dramatic finale. So this is the CCCC card in Orzhov. And so it costs 4 Orzhov pips. It's a rare enchantment. Creature tokens you control get +1/+1. Whenever one or more non-token creatures you control die, create a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying. This ability triggers only once each turn, which is kind of a bummer.
Kind of. We just paid 4 hybrids for an enchantment that only buffs creature tokens, and you're telling me my whole board could get wiped out and I will get a 3/2.
Yeah. Was it really so hard to just not have that clause on it?
It does trigger once each turn, so maybe what we're trying to do is like we have a Woe Strider, right? And we sacrifice a little scorpion on our turn, and we sacrifice something else on their turn, and we're just cranking these out all over, and we're agademsing them back.
Non-token, which sucks.
Yeah, being a non-token is really hard as well, but your goat token is a 1/2, eh?
That's true. Spirits, you play this in your Clarion Spirit deck. Got him.
I don't know, man.
I'm not feeling it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm like, what am I going to do? Turn on my Erebos? Get them.
There you go.
Now those tokens are going to pay, right? I can pay 2 life and draw a card.
There you go. Yeah, because you're definitely not putting this in your Heliod deck.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, not in the Heliod deck. God, where do we just have a ton of tokens? Are you playing this with the Chariot? Like, that doesn't sound good to me.
No,
nothing sounds good to me.
Not for Orzhov pips, right? Like
Angels?
Definitely
no.
Want to play this in a. That's another one of the issues, right? Is that like you can basically only play this in mono white, mono black, or strictly Orzhov, I think.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's all adding up to be a card that I think is just not going to get played.
Am I missing it? Like, I don't remember there being a bunch of Orzhov cards that revolved around token creatures. Like, I don't. Was I asleep during that lesson? No. Okay.
You were not.
All right.
It's just kind of not a thing.
Okay.
So yeah, honestly, like Clarion Spirit is the only card that I can even remotely think of, but it's just in other ways not synergistic with this. So yeah, just not great. Home stretch CGB.
Is it? Are we there?
I don't even know.
I don't think so.
Know.
Probably not.
I'm just trying to keep morale up.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, baby.
More mediocre cards. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Let's party.
But we're getting them for free out of our sideboard.
Dude. Totally.
All right. Next card, Necrotic Fumes, 1 black sorcery, lesson at uncommon as an additional cost to cast the spell. I clearly didn't go to school. Exile a creature you control. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Is this one strictly worse than the other exile one that we read? I guess it's not strictly worse.
The one that was white gives the opponent a 3/2. This exiles something of yours. If you somehow have a piece sitting around that you don't care about or actually want gone, this is good.
Then it could be better.
It's also in black. The other one's in white. So there's different things to do in both of those cases. Clearly, it's probably a terrible control card since you never have something to sacrifice most of the time. I mean, I don't know. Unless you're playing Omen of the Sun or a rat, I don't know. If it was sacrifice a creature you control, it would be a lot better because you could get it back somehow or,
Exactly. Yeah, or like we have these pests in the set that give you a gain life when they die. You wouldn't get the life. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a great card, but it's still definitely a card that might be worth getting from your board, especially if your deck kind of is chucking around a lot of little tokens.
So we're getting deep into the set now. I still don't think there are many learn cards that we can play. So if I pair this with the... Oh no, the name is escaping me, but the 2/1 for 2,
the best learn card we've seen so far.
Yeah,
Yep.
professor of symbiology or something.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Anyway, you can, if you want to, exile the 2/1 and take out anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very long way to go around it. It's like 5 mana to exile target creature or planeswalker when all is said and done, but I mean, it kind of works.
No, I mean, one of the drawbacks of a 2/1 is that at some point it often gets invalidated,
Yes,
right?
that's
And
true.
so, being able to just turn that around into a removal spell, maybe a few turns down the line, is pretty good.
Yep.
So I definitely view this as an option. Happy to have it in the arsenal. How about basic conjuration?
1 green for a sorcery lesson. So, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order. You gain 3 life. Is this the lesson we want to learn?
It's a playable lesson.
It's the long way to do it, isn't it? Like, you play the
It
learn
is.
card, and then you
Yeah,
go
it
get
is.
this, and then you cast that, and then you go get another creature. What if it has learn? Oh, we can do it again.
I agree. It's fairly slow. One of the things I like about this card is that, and I think with lessons in general, that this is what I'm seeing. Half of the lessons I've seen are like inefficient answers to problems, right?
Yes.
And the other half are like a card you sit on until you've got nothing better to do.
Yes.
So this definitely falls into the latter category. I like that it's not hideously expensive. I also like that you gain 3 life, so it makes up a little bit from tempo you may have lost casting it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I agree. It's definitely not a banger, but I in a deck that's playing like good hits, a deck that's playing like for example in your Teamer Adventure deck, you have the possibility to hit a dragon or like a Lovestruck Beast or like something that actually matters.
Ooh,
right?
an Edgewall Innkeeper. How exciting.
That could be good.
It could be. I know. Yeah. I'm buying into the general malaise of the community with adventure cards.
Yes, yeah. That is very true. Very true.
If there's a way to get paid on the life gain, maybe there's something there.
I think that you just need good hits. I think you need like dragons. You need questing beasts. Kind of. You need to have cards like that you can hit.
You need Eldraine cards in your deck, is what you're saying.
You need Eldraine cards in your deck. Yeah. Or if you're one of those randos who thinks that Coma is a playable card, then you can search for that as well. So.
I don't know what I'm just not going to respond, so we can move on.
Sounds good to me. All right. All right. We have another lesson here. Read Inkling Summoning.
1 and a hybrid of Orzhov and a hybrid of Silverquill. See what I did there? Anyway, a sorcery lesson. Create a 2/1 white and black Inkling creature token with flying. So this lesson is a 2/1 flyer. That's a token. The end.
Yeah. Probably not that good.
Okay.
Yeah. Sounds great. Okay, this card is interesting. Umbral Juke, 2 and a black instant at uncommon. Choose 1. Target player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, or create a 2/1 white and black Inkling creature token with flying. So neither side of this is particularly amazing, but does the flexibility do anything for us?
Maybe. It's okay. This card's okay. There might be a place where it's better than the typical removal spell, and then there are a lot of places where it wouldn't be.
What was that card? It was Farika's Libation?
Yes.
Okay, which was kind of a different version of this card. That card saw kind of spotty play, although one of the reasons that card saw play is that it was a potential answer to 2 different kinds of permanent types, right? I think it had sacrifice a creature or planeswalker or sacrifice an enchantment, if I'm getting that right.
Yes. Target player sacrifices a creature, or target opponent sacrifices a creature, or target opponent sacrifices an enchantment.
Okay, so this one's interesting because this can hit creatures or planeswalkers, but the opponent gets to choose.
Yep.
But then you can also make a flyer. So, and the flyer is not hot, but like, it's basically that what that means is that this card is not dead if you don't have a target, which I like.
It's not a Shark Typhoon, though.
It's not a Shark Typhoon.
Getting to draw
true.
that card is a lot better when you make that 1/1 or 2/2 Shark. It's a lot better with a card.
Although, yeah, no, you're right, actually. You're totally right. Yeah, you don't get the card back.
I'm just revolted. Like, I know I sound like I'm saying that a lot of this stuff annoys me, but it does. And you know what? You invited me to be a co-host of the ArenaCraft podcast for a reason, and it's not to just sit over here, shut up, and say everything's great. So I don't like sports moves on my Magic cards. This implies that things are literally dying to play this game. Like a player is sacrificing a creature they love to just to dive around in some arena playing some Quidditch knockoff, and I hate it. I don't like it.
Not here for it.
Not here for it. I believe in competitive gaming, but I don't believe in anything getting hurt to do it, other than your feelings and your pride.
Just enduring pacifist Covert Go Blue, bleeding from the heart on the ArenaCraft podcast.
Basically.
I mean, I'm with you, man. Did they have to rip off Quidditch? Like, did they really? Was that required to like complete the transformation?
I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually a Photoshop rugby player right here.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, for a second plagiarized art of the set. Let's go.
I hate it, man. I hate it.
Yeah. I'm not a fan either. Here's a question. What does umbral mean? Is that like do you actually know what this phrase means? Umbral Juke?
No.
Neither do I.
Umbral. Hold on. You brought it up. We have to go there.
We have access to an oracle known as the internet.
This is a Googling thing now. Mm-hmm. Noun, threshold or sill. What?
Okay.
What? Okay.
So it's a thing you do right before you're about to score a touchdown or something.
I guess. There's a lot of people trying to tell me what umbra means. Umbral is derived from the Latin umbra, meaning shadow. It is also the Spanish and Portuguese word for threshold.
Oh, so maybe it's they're making a little shadow, which is their way of throwing off their opponent. Okay. Well, we all learned something. I mean, it's one of the cooler
It's the
names.
darkest part of a shadow. That's from freedictionary.com. The darkest part of a shadow, especially the completely dark portion of the shadow cast by Earth, the moon, or another body during an eclipse.
Oh, that's right, because the word penumbra comes from that as well. I mean, you have to admit, CGB, it's one of the coolest names for a Magic card ever.
This is what we're doing for content now. We went deep on the meaning of umbral.
Most interesting part of the set so far. Well, okay, can I interest you in this next card then? Fracture. Why don't you read this for us?
It is a white and a black at instant speed. So we've got a 2-mana instant. So right away, it's like, okay, this doesn't have to do too much to be good. Mm-hmm. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker.
Oh, baby. Dun, dun, dun.
It's a heck of a disenchant.
It's a disenchant plus, man. That's for sure. Yeah.
It really is.
So, I mean, okay. One of the interesting things, though, is that, like, is this going to see play in the current format?
Well, how much do people play disenchant?
Very little.
Okay. How much do people play planeswalkers that matter that would make you want to play a disenchant?
Very little.
Oh, darn.
I guess we have our answer. So here's the thing, though. So a card that does see a fair amount of play is what can I remember? It's a cycling one that hits an artifact.
Shredded Sails.
That's one of them. There's a green one too.
Wilt sees play?
Wilt. Yeah, really? Some people play Wilt.
No, it doesn't.
Really?
No.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
people sideboard it.
Way more Shredded Sails, right? And shield breakers and stuff like that.
Yeah. Wilt has showed up plenty. Anyway,
Make your point. Go ahead.
I mean, at the same time, though, yeah, like you're not just. I don't think you're main decking this card.
Agreed.
Okay, all right. So, and you're probably not even boarding it right now, but it is a very versatile card.
Yeah, it would wish board. Like I would fave wishes for this.
Yeah, and like in certain formats, in certain matchups, certain decks could definitely be.
This card should have been a lesson.
That would have been kind of busted.
That's what it would take right now to get excited about lesson. We need some busted.
There you go.
We really do.
Yeah, it's not a bad notion.